Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Real Time, where we talk about the movies we like.
And the ones we don't.
I'm Tyler,
And I'm Molly.
and today we're going to be talking about the Terminator movies. How many parts is it going to be cut up into? We don't know. Probably best to do two parts, the first three, and then the next three.
Yeah, I'd say cut it in half. That's probably the best because if we go through all the movies, that'll be a lot.
That's 6 movies, and we're not even getting into Sarah Connor Chronicles at all.
Yeah, so that's a lot of movies.
So, The Terminator is the first real movie from James Cameron. I say real movie since, technically speaking, he did direct Piranha 2: The Spawning, but through studio execs meddling and all that, he was basically fired partway through it, but still retained a director credit. At one point, supposedly, Cameron tried to sneak into the editing bay to edit his own version of the movie, but he got caught, and that didn't happen. Supposedly speaking. I'm sure James Cameron will deny that if it happens, but I'm sure at this point the statute of limitations is over, so if you did do it, Mr. Cameron, just let me know. I won't tell nobody.
Yeah, we're not going to judge you. I think that'd be actually pretty cool.
And unwilling to go to the premiere of Piranha 2, James Cameron, who was also sick at the time, took probably what I would assume was a metric crap ton of NyQuil and drifted off to sleep in his Italian hotel room. There, he dreamt of a metal skeleton coming after him with a butcher knife, and thus, the Terminator was born.
That sounds like the types of dreams I have while on NyQuil.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, so I'm not surprised, but very interesting origin.
Now, the Terminator, of course, stars Arnold Schwarzenegger as the Terminator. This was not the star-making role you may think it would be from him, since Schwarzenegger had spent the last over a decade establishing himself in the U.S., whether it be from schlock like Hercules in New York or other things that played to more of his strengths at the time, such as his bodybuilding career, with him winning multiple Mr. Universe awards and starring in the pseudo-documentary Pumping Iron. And then, of course, there was Conan the Barbarian. So he wasn't exactly an unknown at the time, but still, he would become even bigger after The Terminator. It became probably his most well-known role to date.
Yeah, I think you're right with that being one of his most well-known roles. He's got some quotes that, from The Terminator. I'll be back. That's a big one.
We'll get into the trivia later because this is one of the movies that I know quite a bit about.
Oh, okay, Mr. Smarty Pants.
Also in this movie, also starring, is Michael Biehn as Kyle Reese, the soldier sent back in time by the savior of mankind, John Connor, in order to protect his mother from being killed before she can give birth to him from the Terminator. I'm pretty sure... Sorry, burping. So pretty sure we didn't have to explain who the Terminator was, but because y'all probably already know about that.
Probably, yeah.
Sarah Connor is, of course, played by Linda Hamilton. Linda Hamilton would later go on to marry James Cameron, actually.
Oh, kind of funny, yeah.
Paul Winfield plays Lieutenant Traxler, the sympathetic cop who tries to... Well, he tries to, at one point, to tell Sarah that, it's all in her mind, stuff like that. But then later on figures out, oh, no, this is real.
Mm-hmm, yeah. Yeah, not in her mind, for sure.
Lance Henriksen plays Lieutenant Vukovic, another cop who's a bit more willing to make light of the situation.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Rick Rossovich plays Matt, the boyfriend to Sarah's roommate Ginger, played by Bess Mata.
Mm-hmm, yes, those are characters.
Earl Bowen plays Dr. Silberman, a character who would appear in the next two Terminator movies. Kind of You okay?
Yeah, just sneezing. Yeah.
One of the few characters and actors who appears in multiple Terminator movies, besides, of course, the Terminator and Sarah Connor.
That's interesting.
Here we get the first collaboration between James Cameron and Bill Paxton, as we get the first of his many deaths in movies. The late great Bill Paxton was one of only 2 people to have been killed by a Terminator, a Xenomorph, and a Predator. The other being, of course, Lance Henriksen, his co-star in this movie.
Oh, that's something to brag about, I think. Being killed by all those characters.
This, of course, also wouldn't be the only time he and Michael Biehn would share screen time in a movie, although they didn't actually share screen time in this movie. They would later go on to star in the movie Tombstone together as Morgan Earp and Johnny Ringo.
Ah, very interesting.
So, The Terminator. I'm just going to put my thoughts right out there. This movie is incredible. It is one of James Cameron's best, and there was a point in my life where I was watching this movie every night.
I believe that. I believe you did watch this every night.
I was in high school.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. Do you want me to share my thoughts?
Yes, please.
Okay. Well, as you're probably well aware of what I'm about to say, it's not my type of movie. You know how I am with the action movies. But for what it is, I can appreciate and recognize that, yes, this is a good movie, a classic movie. I understand why so many people like it. And I do like the action scenes. They're pretty cool. It's a cool concept. I like it.
Yeah, and it was so cool of a concept that famous sci-fi writer Harlan Ellison sued James Cameron because he thought he plagiarized it from him.
What did he write that made him think that?
Well, before I get into this, I need to mention that Harlan Ellison was he was a bit of a wacko. He was very well known for being very strange, very eccentric, slightly abusive person, and when he was alive. So odds are he might have just been making stuff up, but who knows.
Yeah, sounds like he's a little weird, but I don't know the guy, so.
But given that he also sued Marvel for the same thing, maybe he was just a goofy dude.
Maybe he just likes suing people.
So, what he thought that they plagiarized from him was an episode of a TV show called The Outer Limits, called Soldier, with a soldier coming back from the future to stop something happening in the future so that they could save the world.
Pretty similar, but I'm sure there's also some big differences there.
I'm sure. I haven't actually seen that, so I don't know.
Yeah. If, this, android guy didn't come back, if he was an android coming back to kill the mother of some guy, then I'd be like, okay, you might have a lawsuit there, but...
But they settled out of court, and that explains the acknowledgement to the works of Harlan Ellison in the credits.
Yeah. I'm sure James Cameron was not very happy to put that on there, but I guess, to not get sued,
What are you going to do?
Yeah. Can't
I think at this point he also has... Harlan Ellison has story credits on every Terminator movie that's come since.
He's making sure. You copy his idea just slightly, and he's going to make sure... Well, probably even accidental copy. He's going to make sure that his name is on your movie.
I mean, for all we know... maybe James Cameron accidentally had that episode on TV while he was taking a nap, and by osmosis, the stuff kind of leaked into his brain. Maybe, but whatever.
Yeah, I mean, it's fine. People have similar ideas all the time without, meaning to.
Now, this is actually interesting. Guess what percentage the first Terminator has on Rotten Tomatoes?
critic score, I assume.
Yes.
60?
No.
Lower?
Other way.
80. 90?
100.
Oh, a perfect 100.
That's not to say Rotten Tomatoes really means much of anything, but it's kind of interesting how this, low budget sci-fi movie that nobody really had much faith in, gets so much love and attention from the critics.
Yeah, that's surprising because I was thinking, okay, it's probably going to have like a mid critic score, but a high audience score. That's why I guessed 60 at first.
Well, the audience score is actually a little bit lower than the audience. The audience score was a little bit lower than the critics. It was 89.
Oh, that is a little lower. Interesting.
So, originally, Arnold Schwarzenegger was not the first choice for the Terminator. The first choice was Lance Henriksen, because Cameron wanted the Terminator to be someone who could blend in and more easily disappear into a crowd. Now, he eventually did get to do that with Terminator 2 with the T-1000, but that could have been an interesting way to go.
Yeah, because let's face it, Arnold Schwarzenegger is easily spotted in a crowd.
Yeah, this over 6 foot tall Austrian man and bodybuilder with a flat top is probably going to be one of the easiest guys to pick out in a crowd, if I had to make a guess.
Yeah. Pretty easy.
But having said that, I don't think they could have gone with a better choice.
Yeah, I agree with you. He was perfect for this role.
In fact, Arnold Schwarzenegger actually originally met with Cameron for the role of Kyle Reese.
Oh, yeah, that's interesting.
And originally, Michael Biehn almost didn't get the role because he had just come off of another thing where he had a very strong Southern accent. And so Cameron didn't want Kyle Reese to be... Stop that.
I'm sorry.
He didn't want Kyle Reese to be really localized anywhere, so he passed on him. But later, Biehn got back in contact with him and got a second chance.
Yeah, he's like, I still got that Southern drawl, please. I've lost it now. Yeah.
Okay. What else is there? Okay, there was another movie that this movie was actually going up against at the box office around that time. A movie called Runaway. You ever heard of it?
No.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It starred Tom Selleck and Gene Simmons. That's a weird choice. And was written and directed by Michael Crichton.
Oh.
So they thought that, and keep in mind, this is before Jurassic Park.
Oh, yeah.
So they people the bean counters at the time were anticipating that to be the big draw, but new.
Yeah, I've never heard of that movie before.
So some studio executives try to mess with this movie a bit too.
How so?
Well, at one point they tried to push Cameron to giving Kyle Reese a cyborg dog as a sidekick. I
think that would have been pretty goofy.
That'd be dumb as hell. That
Yeah.
That would completely ruin the tone of the movie.
Yeah, it would be goofy. Yeah, it would definitely offset what they were going for.
Because as is, we have this sort of cool, grimy, tech noir, horror, sci-fi thing going on here, and then just have this robot dog. Yeah, no, go away.
Yeah, that would would not have fit.
However, a more positive example happened. The studio wanted Cameron to expand the romance between Sarah Connor and Kyle Reese. Cameron liked the idea, so he went along with it.
Yeah. I do think that's the weirdest part of this movie, though. That this guy who's best friends... What was his name in the movie?
John Connor or Kyle Reese?
Kyle. Okay, Kyle is best friends with John. All right. And he goes back in time to meet John's mother.
To protect her.
Yeah. But he ends up actually impregnating her with John. And then he dies. So, sorry, spoiler, yeah. But,
Spoilers on this 40-year-old movie.
yeah. And so, but John will later meet his dad again as his best buddy and not realize it. Like, that's kind of weird, you know?
Well, by that point, he knew that Kyle Reese was his dad because Sarah told him through the recording she made at the end.
Yeah. So is he like, okay, so he knows this kid is his dad? Or is he just like, oh, you have the same name as my dad?
Well,
You know what I'm saying?
Well, we hear at the end, Sarah says, "Will it affect your decision to send him, knowing that he is your father?"
Oh, see, that would just blow my mind if I found out my best friend was my dad.
Best not to think about it too much. It's like one of those things from these older movies that you just gotta accept.
Yeah, it's just like, okay, yep, he's his dad. Okay.
I don't know, man. It's just.
Yeah. Any other trivia you got for?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
So Arnold Schwarzenegger didn't really think much of this movie at first. He thought it was just some crappy science fiction movie that wasn't going to damage his career too much, and he just did it for the money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I understand doing stuff for money.
This movie basically had no budget, okay? This was an independent movie. They shot a lot of scenes in L.A. at night because it would be cheaper because they didn't have the money for permits.
Yeah. I could tell a lot of it was at night, yeah.
And a lot of times they did some of the shots they did do, they had to do them quickly because they were afraid that the cops were going to come by. Because remember the scene where Terminator punched through the car window to steal it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was one of the crew's car.
Oh. They donated their car for the movie. Dang.
Okay, let's see. So there was a myth going around that O.J. Simpson was considered for the Terminator, but Cameron said that he couldn't picture such a nice guy as a cold-blooded killer.
That didn't age too well.
Yeah, apparently that's complete crap, though.
Yeah, I could. That does not surprise me that that's fake. It's funny though.
So, unlike O.J. Simpson, there were other people who were considered for these roles.
Like who?
Well, Tom Selleck was rumored to be cast as the Terminator, but due to his commitment on Magnum PI, he had to turn it down.
Yeah.
Michael Douglas, Richard Gere, Harrison Ford, Kevin Kline, Randy Quaid, and Sylvester Stallone, funnily enough, were also considered for the Terminator.
Huh. Very interesting.
Mel Gibson was also considered for the Terminator, or Kyle Reese.
Yeah.
Matt Dillon, Scott Glenn, Tommy Lee Jones, Christopher Reeve, Mickey Rourke, Kurt Russell, Bruce Springsteen, Sting, Treat Williams, and Bruce Willis were also considered for Kyle Reese.
Very interesting.
Yeah, the Kurt Russell thing is kind of funny in a roundabout way because, okay, so for the original Metal Gear game on the MSX, sort of a Japanese home computer, the box art of Solid Snake on the cover was traced from Kyle Reese in this movie. Of Michael Biehn as Kyle Reese.
Yeah. Okay.
Later on, during the 2000s, at some point, Hideo Kojima wanted Kurt Russell to play Solid Snake in the games.
Yeah.
So, in some alternate universe, maybe Kurt Russell plays Kyle Reese. His art is traced over to make Solid Snake for the original Metal Gear game, and then Kurt Russell plays the real Solid Snake later on in the 2000s.
Very, very funny. Very interesting.
A whole host of different actresses were considered for the role of Sarah Connor. I'm not going to say all of these names because this is a lot of them.
Okay, what are some notable? women.
Let's see. Jamie Lee Curtis, Gina Davis, Mia Farrow, Carrie Fisher, Jodie Foster, Jennifer Grey, Angelica Houston, Margot Kidder, which would have been interesting if Christopher Reeve got the role of Kyle Reese, Diane Lane, Madonna, Liza Minnelli, Gilda Radner, Meg Ryan, Susan Sarandon, Ali Sheedy, Brooke Shields, Sissy Spacek, Sharon Stone, and Sigourney Weaver were all considered for the role.
That's a lot of people. There's some big names in there too. Yeah.
Deborah Winger was also considered for it, but she actually declined it. At one point, Linda Hamilton was in an accident of some sort, so she wasn't able to run or be in the movie, but they rearranged the shooting schedule so that they would have all of the running scenes at the end after she had healed.
Oh, yeah, that's nice.
And funny story about that, in the original script, to tell the real Sarah Connor, tell who the real Sarah Connor was, the Terminator would have dissected the legs of the ones he killed to find surgery implants, right?
Sure.
Because Skynet had it on file that she had those. But the real Sarah Connor didn't have them because she didn't get them until after this whole thing with the Terminator.
Ah, okay. That makes sense.
Yeah, that's kind of funny, actually.
Yeah, that is. I gotta sneeze. That's why I'm drawing away from the mic.
Okay. Well, while she sneezes, I'm going to... You good?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good now.
Okay. So, all sorts of things happen with the original script. For one, at one point, Kyle Reese was supposed to have someone come with him, but that person accidentally ended up getting merged with a fire escape, so they died when they traveled back in time.
Okay. Merged with the fire escape.
Like how when they come back in the time sphere, it leaves that imprint on the ground.
Yeah. Okay.
They would have they would have been a little bit too much to the right or to the left, and they would have fused with a fire escape or something.
Man, I would hate to be fused with a fire escape.
People would be using you to escape fires.
I know. Okay, yeah, I get it now, though.
The original concept actually included two Terminators being sent back. One being, the Arnold Schwarzenegger model we saw, and another one being made of liquid metal.
Ooh.
But James Cameron, he realized that they couldn't do that at the time. This is early 80s. So that was put on hold for Terminator 2.
Yeah. Yeah, he can be liquidy and metally in that movie. So, yeah.
Now, do you have anything more to say on the Terminator?
No. You said it all, I think.
I think so. I think this is an incredible movie. One of James Cameron's best, like I said. And yeah, there's not much more we can say that hasn't been said already.
Mm-hmm. It's a classic, 80s classic.
Yeah. Next, we're going to be taking care of Terminator 2, Judgment Day. The absolute high point of this series, and it just goes downhill from there.
Yeah. I've only seen the first two, so we'll have to watch the others, and then I can make a statement about that.
Yep.
All right, on to the next movie.
Next movie. So, Terminator 2. I'm going to cut right to the chase. This is possibly the greatest sequel of all time.
I'm partial to Shrek 2, but okay, I respect your opinion.
Anyways, this movie came out in 1991, was again directed by James Cameron, and I'm going to make another statement. This might just be his best movie of all time.
Maybe. I don't really know.
Aliens comes close, as does the first Terminator. And Avatar 2 is pretty good, too. but it's really hard to top Terminator 2.
Yeah. If I had maybe stronger feelings towards his movies, maybe I could tell you.
Anyways, Terminator 2, Judgment Day, once again stars Arnold Schwarzenegger as the Terminator. But this time, he's been sent to the past to protect John Connor from the future resistance. That's who he was sent to protect John Connor from.
Yeah.
That's who sent him back, I mean.
Yeah, you kind of had a lot of words there. But yeah, what a twist. We see that, the enemy from the first movie is now the good guy. Crazy.
Yeah, audiences back then, well, they didn't really see that coming. Well, I say that, but some trailers actually spoiled the fact that Arnold was the good guy this time around.
Oh, what'd they do?
They basically showed him protecting John.
Yeah, that would give it away.
Some did, some didn't. In one trailer, it just had him looking ominous as the Terminator. It didn't really say whether he was the good guy or not, but given from the last movie, I guess audiences would have figured him as the bad guy. But yeah, this is something that more recent Terminator movies like Terminator Salvation and Genesis have been criticized for putting the major spoilers of the movie in the trailer when the best movie in the series also did that too.
Yeah. I don't know. I think if I was making a movie, I would not want any sort of spoilers to come out.
Well, I mean that's not really that's the trailer people's fault, not the director.
You would think the director would approve trailers.
Proofread them?
Yeah, or like approve them and say, "Hey, that looks good."
Yeah, you'd think.
Yeah. Oh well.
Also coming back in this movie was Linda Hamilton returning as Sarah Connor. Once the helpless waitress, she is now the utter badass, willing to do anything to protect her son and save the future human race.
Yeah, quite muscular, really works out a lot in her mental health room.
Edward Furlong stars as John Connor, and I'm going to say something. It's not really a hot take at all. Edward Furlong was the best actor to play John Connor in all of the Terminator movies we got.
I've only ever seen the first two, so.
Well, in Terminator 3, he was played by Nick Stahl. Do you know who that is?
No.
Exactly.
Okay.
He's not bad as John Connor. It's just, well, you'll see. Christian Bale played him in Terminator Salvation, and Jason Clarke played him in Genesis. Edward Furlong returned to do motion capture for de-aging for Terminator Dark Fate, but we'll get to that when we get to that.
Okay, yeah, we'll get there.
With Edward Furlong, we get a fully realized character. This goes for pretty much everyone else in this movie, but the character arc he goes through in this movie is incredible.
Yeah, he starts out as like a rebellious kid and then grows into
someone who realizes the responsibility that the future has for him.
Yeah. That's nicely put.
Robert Patrick plays the villainous T-1000, the liquid metal Terminator that James Cameron originally envisioned for the first Terminator movie.
Yeah. Pretty cool character.
Yeah, and what a completely underrated actor Robert Patrick is.
Yeah, he was really good in this role.
He and not just this, whenever he pops up in any sort of thing, it's always a joy to see him. We got to talk with Ross Marquand at a local con here. He was Red Skull in Avengers Infinity War and Endgame, and he does a few voices on Invincible, among other things. He starred alongside Robert Patrick on The Walking Dead, I believe it was, and he agrees with me that Robert Patrick is a really underrated actor who is such a talent. He really needs to do more work.
Yeah, pretty cool guy.
Earl Bowen returns from the first movie as Dr. Silverman. This time he's running the asylum where Sarah Connor is kept, and he's really... In the first movie, he says he could make a career out of Kyle Reese's ramblings, but now it appears he's doing so with Sarah Connor's.
Apparently, yeah.
Joe Morton plays Miles Dyson, the man who's responsible for creating what would become Cyberdyne and Skynet.
Yeah. He's not in the movie too much, but plays a very important role in the ending.
Jeanette Goldstein and Xander Berkeley play John's foster parents, Janelle and Todd. They're not there for too long, but even still, even the bit characters get pretty important and memorable roles.
Yeah.
Castulo Guerrero plays Enrique Salcida, Sarah's friend south of the border who hooks her up with some guns. He's a pretty fun character. He doesn't get too many lines, but he's got a lot of personality.
Yeah, he does. Everyone needs a friend that, hooks him up with weapons.
We even get Mr. Sex Gifts himself, Dean Norris, as one of the SWAT team leaders.
Yes, we do.
You don't really get to tell that it's him too much, but because of the gas mask, but it's him. You can see it in his eyes.
Yeah, I guess this is probably one of his earliest roles.
Yes, it was.
Makes sense because he is only on there for like 2 seconds.
Good old Sex Gifts. Always nice to see him too.
Yep.
So, Terminator 2. I believe I've made my feelings on this movie clear, but what are your thoughts?
I mean, as you know, my taste in movies, action movies aren't really my thing. So I will say I think I like this one more than the first one.
A lot of people do. I'm one of them.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this one is more... I enjoyed it more. I don't really know why. Maybe because Arnold was the good guy this time. So that's good to see.
Well, there's a few reasons why I believe this movie is much better than the first. Number one, we get to see exactly what James Cameron wanted to do in the first movie, but in this one, he has a bigger budget, he has more trust from the studio, so he's allowed to put more of his ideas into practice. He has better technology. I mean, the T-1000 alone revolutionized computer graphics at the time. Okay, this was instrumental in creating the dinosaurs for Jurassic Park.
Yeah, that's a really good point. The studio has more trust in him, and they saw the success of the first one, so they're like, oh yeah, just do whatever you want. And he really got to, unleash his creativity.
Not only that, but in the time between this movie and the first one, James Cameron also did The Abyss and Aliens, another one of the possible greatest sequels of all time. He's shown his talent and his knack for direction and character work that they're willing to give him a chance, and they definitely that chance definitely paid off.
Yeah, I would say so.
Another reason why I think this movie is much better: characters. Okay, we get much deeper and richer character arcs than we did in the first movie. Now, that's not to say that Sarah or Kyle Reese in the first movie were bad. They're not. They're likable characters, and I don't want anything bad to happen to them, but they are kind of flat for the most part. I mean, well, Kyle is. Sarah does go through her own arc in the first movie, but then she goes through another one in the second one. In the first one, she goes from this waitress who has probably never picked up a gun in her life to someone who's willing to take on the responsibility of raising the child who will save the world, basically.
Yeah, I agree. I do think the characters are more fleshed out. There's more time spent building onto the characters in this movie.
Now, basically everyone in Terminator 2 gets a pretty good character arc. Let's talk with Sarah first. She at the beginning, she is kind of crazy. She's off her nut. She's locked up in this asylum, and she is because she was trying to blow up a computer factory, so she got caught and sent away. Now, she starts this movie just angry and pissed off at everyone, even her own son. When he comes to rescue her, she thinks that she can do all of this herself, but over the course of the movie, she realizes she does need to rely on other people in order to get things done.
Yeah, she goes through a lot, and that really reflects on how detailed her character is.
Then we get the fact that she goes from not trusting the Terminator at all to seeing him as basically the best father substitute for John, because out of every other person, the robot was the one who did at least the bare minimum.
Yeah, I mean, he was there. He protected John. He's a good buddy to John. So, yeah.
Speaking of, the Terminator goes through an interesting arc too. He starts the movie as basically someone who would kill you just to get your clothes and your boots and your motorcycle. And over the course of the movie, he realizes the value and the the worth of human life. How he goes from, at one point, being willing to be okay with Sarah killing Miles Dyson to literally sacrificing himself to protect the future and John and Sarah.
Yeah, another big change, in his character throughout the movie. I'm agreeing with you that was
Cool.
Sorry, cool. I worded that weird.
And like you said before, John goes from this arrogant little turd to someone willing to take up the responsibility of being the protector of humanity.
Yeah, lots of interesting changes that these characters make throughout the movie.
The T-1000 doesn't really get an arc, but that's fine. He doesn't need to be that. What he really needs to be is the unstoppable force who is 100% going to continue following John until he kills him. That's all that's needed for the T-1000, and it's sold perfectly. He's intimidating. He's efficient. He's kind of likable, honestly, with his interactions with Todd and Janelle at the beginning. You really, if you didn't know that this guy was a robot, you might get fooled into believing in him, or you would get fooled, I think.
Yeah, I mean, he's a really good bad guy. He's determined. I mean, he's a robot basically, so he has a objective to do, and he will do everything he can to get it done.
It also helps that he's taken the form of a cop, which will grant him a lot of it lets him get by in places where any ordinary person wouldn't be able to. Like Arnold in his leather jacket on his motorcycle would be a lot more suspicious than the police officer, although in some communities that would be the opposite, but I'm not here to say that.
Yeah, like John's foster parents give him information about John just because they trust him because he's a police officer.
Now that was actually some intentional commentary from James Cameron, but again, we're not really here to say anything on that. We're not really too political on this channel.
No.
Also, and maybe my favorite character arc in this movie is Miles Dyson's, actually.
Why do you think that?
Well, we don't get too many scenes with this guy. He's only there for, well, in the standard edition, he's only there for a good 25 minutes, give or take. We do get an additional couple scenes with him previously, but I like how when we first meet him, he's just this scientist he's trying to work his magic at trying to make a better future with some technology that someone put on his desk one day and said, figure this stuff out. Okay. He doesn't know anything about any sort of future conflict or war or how the world is going to completely end. He just sees this as tools to make a better future for everyone. Now, when Sarah and the Terminator come a knocking, he realizes quickly that he may have gone too far in a few places.
Yeah. But of course, before they come around, how's he supposed to know what the future would hold?
Yeah, he's not.
Yeah.
His realization of the future is, I'm not sure if this was intentional, but it seems reminiscent of Dr. J. Robert Oppenheimer after the atomic bombs dropped on Japan. His whole post-war, coming to grips of what he what he took part in, something like that, but on a much more massive scale in universe, since it wouldn't be the death of a few 100,000 people, which feels weird to downplay in this situation, but just bear with me, to the deaths of over 3 billion.
Yeah, that's quite a lot.
Yeah, so he's a very interesting character that we don't get a whole lot of, and I'm not blaming this movie for this, but in later movies he shows up, and it would have been interesting to see a bit more of this, but we don't really get that. But it does make a bit more sense in universe, but we'll get there when we get there.
Yeah, we'll get there when we get there.
Yeah, there is a lot to say about this action movie, huh?
Yeah, there is quite a lot to go over.
So, fun fact: remember the scene where in the drainage area where John was being chased by the T-1000 in the truck?
Yes.
Remember the scene where the T-1000 drove over the bridge to get there?
Yes.
Well, James Cameron, which was trying to get people to actually film that, because you got to get that shot. So eventually, he got that shot himself.
Oh, how many times did it take?
Well, I mean, the point is, he shot a scene by himself where there was a truck coming at him.
Yeah, that would be pretty scary.
I'm not sure how this man carries his big brass balls around.
Okay.
Let's see. So the SWAT officers who responded to the Cyberdyne raid, those were actual SWAT officers.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Makes it very realistic for the movie. Yeah.
This was one of the first roles from both Edward Furlong and Robert Patrick.
Very interesting. Yeah.
And Robert Patrick got the role by staring.
That makes sense. Yeah, because if you got an intimidating stare, and you could do it for a long time, then yeah, that works out for the character.
So for this purposes, we watched the extended version of the movie, because if there's an extended version of the movie, I'm gonna watch it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you are.
And in this version, Michael Biehn returned as Kyle Reese in one of Sarah's dreams. This was cut from the theatrical version because James Cameron thought that this would be a bit confusing for audiences who hadn't seen the first movie. Which, you don't really need to watch the first one to have watched this one.
No, you really don't. It might help you understand some things, but yeah, you can pick it up.
You get caught up to speed pretty fast. I watched this one before I watched the first one.
Oh, very, very interesting.
Let's see. So, Linda Hamilton went through a pretty intense training program to get into shape for this movie, as you can see.
Yeah, I could tell because she's pretty jacked. She looks good.
Yeah. At one point, remember the scene where she was pumping the shotgun one-handed while trying to get the T-1000 over the railing and into the molten steel?
Yes.
She trained so that she can do that pump one-handed for real.
I am sure, like, I am not the person to be like, I mean, she makes it look easy, but I'm sure it is, like, a lot harder than what it looks, and I'm sure I cannot do that.
You want to know how hard it was?
How hard?
Arnold Schwarzenegger couldn't do that.
Dang. Yeah. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, Linda Hamilton is cool. We stan her on this channel.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Robert Patrick also took on a pretty intense training program because he wanted to be able to run for a long time without showing fatigue, because a robot wouldn't be tired.
No, yeah, and he runs a while. That one scene, he just kind of, he like has no emotion on his face and just sprints after John.
When they initially shot that scene, he caught up to Edward Furlong like that, like, you know.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
So if the real T-1000 was as fast as Robert Patrick, the movie would have been over right there.
Yeah, he would have got him.
He also learned how to train himself to not blink or flinch while firing a gun, since a robot wouldn't, And we do see him flinch in for like a second, but for the rest of the movie, he's golden.
Yeah, that's probably hard to do because it's just like instinctual to like flinch whenever something loud and just, strong goes off in your hand.
He also learned how to fire guns ambidextrously, since a robot wouldn't have a robot wouldn't be right or left-handed. They would just shoot with whatever they have.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Which Arnold Schwarzenegger also trained to do that on the first movie too.
Pretty cool.
Another thing I really like in this movie is all the extras in the bar when Arnold first comes into the bar. They don't all react the same way. Like some are kind of shocked, some are intrigued, some are kind of intimidated. All the women are turned on.
Yeah, they're like, yeah, nice body.
And obviously, Schwarzenegger wasn't actually naked when he walked into the bar. I mean, he was when he first, appeared. But when he was in the bar, he had on a pair of goofy underwear. It was just like all flowery and stuff.
Mm-hmm. That's pretty cool.
Linda Hamilton also learned how to pick locks for real, as we see her do in the movie when she breaks out of her cell.
That's interesting. I would just think I didn't know she was actually picking it.
Which that scene got cut from the UK release because they didn't want to show an accurate depiction of picking locks. I swear.
Yeah, just don't even say it.
That's goofy.
That's funny though. They don't want people knowing how to pick locks.
Remember the scene when the nuke went off and Sarah's in her nightmare?
Yeah.
That was actually, well, it still is one of the most accurate depictions of a nuke going off in any movie.
That's pretty cool. It's pretty gross.
Yeah, like James Cameron actually got letters from actual nuclear physicists praising him for his work.
Pretty cool. Yeah.
Can I help you?
I was just checking the time.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, any other cool things?
Yeah, several.
All right.
Okay, so Linda Hamilton actually suffered permanent hearing damage in one of her ear during this filming the scene when they were shooting at the T-1000 in the elevator, since she left out one of her earplugs. Oh,
yeah. You gotta be careful about your earplugs.
Arnold Schwarzenegger nearly broke a couple fingers when twirling a shotgun. We get the cool flip cock in this movie.
Yeah, pretty cool.
Now, you can't actually do that in real life unless the gun is modified, like the lever is modified so that you can do that without squishing your fingers.
I wouldn't know that, so, but yeah, it looked cool.
Let's see. Well, like I said, this was supposed to be a lot of stuff that ended up in this movie were supposed to be in the first one.
Oh.
And even still, there was a lot of stuff that could have happened in this movie.
Oh yeah.
Reportedly, Shaquille O'Neal asked for a role as a black Terminator.
Pretty cool. Yeah, that would be nice.
Billy Idol was originally supposed to play the T-1000, but a motorcycle accident he had in 1990 left him incapacitated.
Oh.
Denzel Washington was offered the role of Miles Dyson.
Okay.
He turned it down, obviously.
Well, yeah, obviously.
At one point, the T-1000 was supposed to look like Kyle Reese. Supposedly, a Skynet would have gotten Reese's body and would have used that for the T-1000, but they decided to cut that out because it would have been too confusing.
Yeah. That's an interesting take, but yeah, I think it was better off the way it was.
There was an alternate ending that showed that. Well, it shows the good future of where John becomes a senator and he's playing with his daughter in a park while Sarah watches on and narrates. And I'm glad they went with the one that they went with in the end.
Yeah, because you said that scene would just continue on after the Terminator goes under the lava or whatever it is. I know it's not lava, but
Well, here's the thing. The ending that we got, it's optimistic, but it still has an air of dread of maybe things are okay. We don't know, but in this one, it's pretty unambiguous that the future has changed. Which, I mean, if they were only gonna make these two Terminator movies, then the alternate ending would have been okay, I guess. But given that we do have 6 Terminator movies at this point, the ending we got is the right way to go.
yeah, I think you're right there because that alternate ending, was like a definite. The world did not go the way they thought or planned. In this way, it is more. Anything could happen.
As is, this is one of the most perfect movies I've ever seen. Like, I said it on our 100th episode that I considered this for my favorite action movie. And between this and Die Hard, it really is a toss-up between those two. Like, sometimes it's this, sometimes it's that. It was at that time I was feeling Die Hard more.
Yeah, I'm surprised you didn't go with this one, the way you talked about it.
Now, what was your favorite scene in this movie?
There's a lot of cool scenes. There's a lot of cool, like, special effects as well. So, probably something with that. I don't really know a specific scene. What do you think?
There's too many to count, but probably my favorite practical effect in this movie, because this movie also had a very big share of practical effects. Anytime they were actually destroying something, like whenever they were shooting the T-1000 up, or Arnold had the Terminator prosthetics on him, or really anytime destruction was happening, as I said, it happened for real in camera. Like helicopter crash, T-1000 getting ripped in half, all practical. It's when they had to put it back together, that's when the CGI came in, and they knew that they had to combine it with the practical effects so that it would look more real.
Yeah, that made it look really cool.
But my favorite scene is actually one that got cut from the theatrical version. It's in the extended version, which is another reason why I almost exclusively watched that version of the movie. It's when John, Sarah, and the Terminator stop at this abandoned mechanics shop. They're fixing each other up, and the Terminator mentions that Skynet doesn't want him to be learning stuff while he's out, but he could if they switch if they do something with his chip. I don't quite remember the exact wording they said, but they have to take his chip out, and they have to switch to something or another. Now, how they achieve this shot, we have Arnold, Edward Furlong, and Linda Hamilton all in the foreground. In the background, we have Arnold looking back at us through a mirror, but it's not actually a mirror. In the foreground, we have basically a prosthetic head that they can work on. What we see as Arnold's reflection is actually Arnold. He's sitting in another room, and we have Edward Furlong and Linda Hamilton's stunt doubles on the other side, mirroring their movements exactly.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
I mean, it was simple to get a stunt double for Linda Hamilton, though. She had a twin sister at the time. Her sister has since passed on, we see her again during the movie at the end when the T-1000 impersonates Sarah.
Yeah, they look a lot alike. I guess they're identical.
Yeah, they were.
That makes sense because they're like pretty. I can't tell them apart.
I mean, there is a way to tell them apart though. Linda Hamilton's sister wasn't as jacked as she was.
Oh yeah, I guess I could have paid attention to that, but I didn't think about that.
But that's the thing though. You weren't thinking about that. You were sucked up in the story.
Yeah, that's true.
Basically, go watch this movie. Do it right now.
Yeah, Tyler demands that you go watch this movie now.
If you haven't seen it, go watch it. If you have seen it, go watch it again, please.
Yeah, he doesn't care. He will get you if you do not watch this.
I'll do it. will be in your walls.
Okay.
Next we have, unless you have anything more to say on Terminator 2? No?
Nah. I think you pretty much covered it.
I think so. Next we have Terminator 3. Yeah.
All right. Let's give it a watch.
Yes, we will. So, Terminator 3 was released in 2003, and it was the last leading role that Arnold Schwarzenegger did before he became governor of California.
Oh, very interesting.
Yeah, that whole thing is a big mess of politics and recall elections and whatnot, but it doesn't matter right now for the purposes of this. For the purposes of this portion of this video, what did you think of Terminator 3? This was your first viewing of it, and what did you think?
Well, it definitely is different than the other two.
Not really. It has more or less the same plot. Skynet sends someone back to kill John Connor. The Resistance sends someone back to save John Connor. It's a very tried and true storyline by this point. 4.5 out of the 6 Terminator movies have this so far.
You would think they would stop sending Terminators back in time.
You'd think, but then again, with what we see from AI today, maybe it's not so hard to believe.
Yeah, that's true, I guess. But yeah, I definitely didn't really like this one too much. I don't know. I just felt like there was something missing. What do you think?
Well, that something missing is a little thing I like to call James Cameron.
Oh, that would be it. Maybe that's why I think it's a little different. Maybe just the vibes off, the whole style and everything is just a little different because he's not there.
This was the first Terminator movie without the involvement of both James Cameron and Linda Hamilton.
Yeah, well, I could tell she wasn't there for sure.
But before we get into the real meat and potatoes of this, let's go through the cast. Once again, we are blessed with Arnold Schwarzenegger as the Terminator. He is probably the best part of this movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. He was for sure.
Nick Stahl is the third actor by now to be playing John Connor, and so far he's the weakest one.
Yeah. I didn't think he made a very good protagonist. Yeah. I liked him better when he was a kid.
Yeah, when he was actually competent.
Yeah, that's what it seems like.
Here he's just this drugged out drifter who's kind of a loser.
Yeah. Especially at the beginning of the movie, he's just kind of a weird jerk.
Claire Danes plays Kate Brewster, the quote-unquote love interest of John Connor. She's supposed to be his wife in the future, and she's the one who sends the Terminator back to protect John and herself in the past, since by that point, the Terminator that they had sent back was the one who managed to kill John Connor. So finally, one of these things managed to kill a John Connor. It took us nearly 20 years, but they finally got one.
Finally, yeah, that did take a long time.
Unfortunately, it's in the future where basically the humans have won, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, I guess not.
Kristanna Loken plays the TX, our new Terminator villain, and this is kind of a mixed bag here. As a character, she's not very interesting. She's very bland. She has not a whole lot of interesting to say, but she has some pretty interesting abilities with being able to take control of cars, machinery, other Terminators, the like. So that's pretty neat. It gives us a decently intimidating antagonist to deal with.
Yeah, I agree. I think she had some pretty cool powers. Her hand could do a lot of cool things. She could kind of control cars without like being in the car.
Yeah, and she's also coated in liquid metal like the T-1000, except she has titties, so she can get out of a speeding ticket.
I mean, she does use them for that, so I guess you're right.
We have Earl Bowen come back as Dr. Silberman. That's kind of funny that this old bag of bones is still hanging around, and he just keeps running into Terminators. By the time he gets to this one and he sees Arnold again, he just books it. He says, "Nah."
Yeah, he just runs away. He's had enough of him already, so.
So let's talk about the good, because there is some in this movie. We're still in the age of practical effects for action scenes. There was a lot of them. There was the chase with the crane truck and all these other different vehicles through the city, which, by the way, they had essentially run out of money by the time they came around to filming this scene. But Arnold Schwarzenegger liked it so much that he paid for it out of pocket at a price of around $1.7 million.
Dang, that's a lot of money. It is a cool scene, though.
It is. That is a really cool scene. And the action scenes in this movie in general are pretty fun to watch. There is quite a bit more CGI than there was in the last movie, but I mean, that's to be expected with this sort of high-speed action between two robots that we get in this kind of movie. And again, the fights are actually pretty fun.
Yeah, I'll agree with you. The action was really good. There are a lot of fun scenes, a lot of fun fights.
A lot of fun practical explosions, and
Yeah.
a really fun couple of car chases. Not just the one that Arnold paid for, but the other one with the hearse and the TX running after them. That was fun too.
Yeah. Pretty entertaining fight scenes and action scenes.
There's also some really interesting character moments, and not even from our main trio. Although Arnold as the Terminator does get some pretty nice moments. There's a moment when Kate Brewster's father, he's an Air Force general. He has to make the decision to turn on Skynet because they're trying to use Skynet to get rid of whatever sort of virus is messing with the whole nation's computer systems and whatnot. And instead of handing this decision over to the guy working for him, who is, it's literally his job to do it, he decides to take the responsibility himself. So that was kind of a nice moment.
Yeah, he's, standing up for his work, so pretty good.
It also helps that he dies basically right after, so whatever consequences happen, they're not really going to reflect too well. He's not going to worry about them.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Unfortunate, but yeah.
I also liked the ending because, well, we actually get to see Skynet rise up and start Judgment Day. It's pretty. I mean, for the first time I watched this movie, I was kind of surprised by this. I mean, I don't know why, but it was really like a moment where it was like, oh, they didn't get away with it. That Skynet is actually happening.
Yeah. Which kind of makes sense because it was in the future that it happened, so I guess you can expect it, right?
Yeah.
Sure.
But let's get into some of the stuff I did not like, which was the story. Yeah, this is basically the same plot line as the last two movies. What sense does this make? I don't understand why you're doing the same thing again, but worse.
Yeah, it's definitely repetitive, especially with movie number 3. It's like, okay, this is happening again. All right, fine. Yeah, you're left wanting to see something much different, but same thing happens.
Which we will see something different in Salvation, but we're not there yet.
Yeah, I haven't seen that one yet either.
Anyways. And it doesn't make sense because at one point, okay, so when John and the Terminator finally get to talking, the Terminator says that they didn't stop Judgment Day. They only postponed it. But here's the thing, though. In the future, they have a time machine, so they would know when Judgment Day actually happened. They could have actually sent them back even more ahead of time so that they can actually stop it. Why didn't they do that?
Yeah, I don't know, man.
Or maybe the movie can have it be like, how they say the history is written by the victor. So maybe Skynet wrote down the wrong date for Judgment Day on purpose. The people coming back from the future, Kyle and all them, they thought that it was supposed to happen in 97, but actually it happened in 2003 or some sorts. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that could have been simple.
Yeah, that could have been an interesting take.
Easy fix right there, but no, you just
Yeah. Sorry you're upset.
Oh well. I mean, in hindsight, this is not the worst Terminator movie. I can't call it the worst one. Not when, well, we'll get there later. But this is not the worst one. And it's actually pretty fun overall. It's just the story that I really don't like, which that's a pretty big part of the movie and all that. But yeah, whatever.
Yeah, it's kind of important to like the story of a movie.
And I guess the characters aren't really too interesting. Like I said, John is not competent, or he sounds bored most of the time in this movie. Not really beaten down by life. He just sounds like he just sounds bored, and I can't take that seriously.
Yeah, it's not very good for the main character to act like that.
Kate is fine, I guess. I didn't hate her. I didn't love her, but she's no Sarah Connor, but she's not John in this movie, so she's serviceable enough.
Yeah, I'd say so.
We get a whole 2 scenes with her and her fiance before he gets axed off, and she's so sad, but we didn't really get much of them together. We got maybe a minute of them as fiance. It's whatever.
Yeah, not a lot. And you even asked me, like, oh, can you guess what happens to him? And I'm like, oh, he definitely dies.
And then he did.
Yeah, so that was not surprising at all.
Also, this movie's rated R, supposedly. I don't see it. I mean, aside from the F-bombs that they drop and the TX coming out of the time machine with her booty butt cheeks out and completely naked and all that. I mean, Arnold did that too, but that happens in all the movies. There's not really a whole lot of R rating in this movie.
No, I'm trying to think, and I don't really know. I guess it has to do with the cursing, but I don't know. I don't really remember that much.
I mean, just trim down those scenes, do some ADR, and this movie could basically be a PG-13. I mean, there wasn't all that much blood in this movie either, aside from when the TX kills Kate's fiance, and admittedly a pretty cool scene where she punched through a cop's chest to drive the car to where our heroes are. That was a pretty fun kill.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. Punching your fist through a chair and a guy just to steer a steering wheel.
But yeah, it is. I mean, we do get 2 more PG-13 Terminator movies, like actually PG-13 in Salvation and Genesis. Although the Blu-ray version of Salvation is rated R because we get some more booba in that one than we do the theatrical version. But we'll get there when we get there.
Oh my, yeah, that's real interesting.
Well, I mean, on DVD it's PG-13, but on Blu-ray it's rated R.
Because of the scenes. Yes, you told me.
Well, just the one scene actually.
Oh, okay. It's just one. All right.
Yeah. So, Terminator 3. Just watch the first 2.
Yeah, Terminator 3 is a movie.
It certainly is a movie that exists.
Yep.
There's no real point in asking who your favorite character was, because I'm assuming it's the Terminator.
Yeah, because the human characters weren't really that cool. I didn't really have any big feelings for them, so it's kind of hard to choose them as my favorite. I guess you're probably the same, huh?
Yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah. You just hit me with the microphone.
Just trying to keep Willie from unplugging it.
I don't even think you noticed. He just slammed it into my face. Anyways, yeah. I guess the girl Terminator, I don't know the name, was pretty cool too.
Yeah, I mean, character-wise, not very interesting, but she did have some pretty cool abilities.
Yeah. But yeah, you can't really beat the OG Terminator.
So, Arnold Schwarzenegger initially did not want to be in this movie, unless James Cameron directed it. But getting around $30 million paycheck, plus 20% of the gross profits, and Cameron himself told him, it's okay if he did it. It convinced him into doing it.
Yeah, I totally would too. For the money.
And, I mean, give the man credit. He did not phone this one in, for the most part, I guess.
No, even though it was more of a, not as strong of a movie, he still gave his all.
What the heck? Okay, some other potential directors for this movie were actually Ridley Scott, Ang Lee, Michael Bay, and John McTiernan, so that could have been interesting.
Yeah, it could have.
Let's see. Logan Marshall Green, Jake Gyllenhaal, and Shane West were all considered for John Connor. At certain points, the TX was considered to be a male robot, and female. They went back and forth. They went back and forth between Vin Diesel, Carrie-Anne Moss, Jerry Ryan, Shaquille O'Neal. He's coming back again as a Terminator. Gwyneth Paltrow, Peter Wilson, to play the character.
Yeah, pretty cool.
At one point, Lance Henriksen was supposed to reprise his role from the first Terminator movie, all wheelchair bound and stuff. I assume he would have been in the Dr. Silberman role.
Sure, yeah. I don't remember who that is.
He was the other cop in the first movie.
Okay, I will leave you.
That'll do it for this one, but join us next time, and we're going to be going into the next 3 Terminator movies. We're going to be going over Terminator Salvation, Genesis, and Dark Fate.
Yep, sounds fun. See you next time.
See you next time.